back to More Than Male here at House of Faith. My name's Scott Fisher. It's good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about something it's going to sound funny when I say it. But my question to you is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the reason that this came to my mind this week is that I've found by searching kind of the past and what's gone on that we set expectations for ourselves when we're about 5. And some of us, if we never break that, we are ashamed of ourselves as we go through life. And I'll give you an example. It was set in my mind, and as I get older, I realized that it was maybe more that I took something from what my parents taught me that was wrong instead of what they actually said. But the expectation that I placed on myself when I was about 5 years old was to graduate from high school and get a scholarship and go to school for 4 years. And then by the time I was 22, I was going to be playing professional football. And that was just how it was going to be. And it never really changed. And so as things started to fall apart in high school, and I realized that these things were not going to happen, I just felt like a huge failure. And unfortunately, when you have something set like that, that's so rigid and immovable, once you start failing, you're a failure. That's it. There's no coming back from that. And that's what we carry around with us. So my question is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And think about when you were 5, 6 years old. What did you want to be? I wanted to be Batman. I mean, who didn't want to be? What kid didn't want to be Batman? But that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be that guy that was going to step in and protect people and fight the bad guys. And I wanted to be that. That's what. And it was true. It was a part of me. Of course, I didn't realize it then, but it's a part of who I am. It's a part of who I've always been. Is I wanted to be that guy that was going to step in and protect the innocent. And so when I joined the Army, that just sort of flowed. That was, God took care of me, because that was what I was meant to do. That was who He made me to be. He made me just like that. And so these are things that I like to search my memory, and I like to think about, why did I want to be Batman? Why did I want to be a football player? Why did I want to do all these things? And the reason that I ask why is because the result is really not the point. It's the growing into it and finding out what gift it is that you're using, finding out what you're good at and what you're not good at. So the next question, as far as what do you want to be when you grow up, is why. I know people who were taught their entire lives that they had to be a doctor. And the reason for that is, next time you go to the family reunion, what's the first question? It's always, really, what does your son do? And you're not going to say, oh yeah, he bags groceries at Walmart, right? Even though, done it. But then you feel like, okay, so now I'm embarrassing my parents and everything else. But what do you really want to be? What do you want? And I'm not talking about your job, because that is not who you are. I mean, there are things like apostles and pastors, doctors. That is very much who you are. And if that is the truth, you're going to be very, very, very good at it, if that's who you really are. But a lot of us, most of us, do jobs that we do to make money. And that's the reason that we go there. It's a conveyance. And that's all it is, guys. That's all it is it's a way to make money so that you can have a life. It is not who you are. You're not a restaurant employee. You're not a stock boy. You're not a mechanic necessarily, or it's just, that's what you do. So who are you and who do you want to be really has very little to do with your occupation. Again, like I said, unless it's a calling, like being a pastor, like being a doctor, like, something that and to become a doctor and not want to be a doctor, that has to be really difficult. And clearly I don't know anything about that, but to be stuck in a position where you have to do something for a living that you don't want to do, and that's what you are. Everybody calls you doctor, and now you're a doctor and you have to be a doctor. How do you break that? How do you find out who you are? Well, you remember that that's your job, and that's all it is. That's all you have to be, is who you are. That's all you ever have to be. And you, my friend, are the only you on the face of this planet. And that's all you ever have to be, is you. So again, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to do this, and I want to do that. Why? Is it because it's what you want to do? Is it because that's what's in your heart? Or is it because that's what somebody told you that you have to do? And at some point in our lives, we have to come to grips with that. We have to answer that question for ourselves, and we have to be truthful. And that brings me to expectations. And I think personally in my life, expectations are probably the one thing that's torn everything apart more than anything else, because it's expectations put on you by teachers, by coaches, by parents, and worst of all, expectations that we put on ourselves. And when we don't meet those expectations, and sooner or later we're going to mess something up. When we don't meet those expectations, our self-esteem drops. And when that happens, then we're less likely to reach, we're less likely to risk, we're less likely to try something that might very well make us the happiest people on earth, because we don't think we can do it. So expectations are deadly, and I can't emphasize that enough. And I think that's true with our relationships as well. I think the less expectation we can place on each other, and the more we can just be happy for each other and rejoice in the good things and hold together in the bad things, and just not have those expectations. But again, I think the worst thing with expectations is the ones that we put on ourselves, because that stops us right there. If somebody else expects me to do something, I can apologize and I can try to get better. But that's the point of this whole thing, of this whole life thing, is for me to be a better me tomorrow than I was today. That's it. That's it. And yes, there are expectations at work. There are things that you have to do to earn that money. But that money is for you to have a life. So I'm not saying run out and quit your job. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying we all need to work. And it's biblical. Men need to be out there. They need to be providing for their families. But remember, what you're doing for a living is not who you are. When you go home and you hug your family, that's who you are. When you get down on your knees and you're talking to God, that's who you are. You are what God made you to be, not what your boss wants you to be. And I don't know why that this is so important to me, but it's really been on my heart the last couple of weeks, because the power that we have to stop ourselves and to limit ourselves and to just decide that we're not good enough, that stops everything. And it doesn't seem like a big deal at the time, but it becomes a way of life. It becomes a way of thinking about yourself. And when that happens, there's no way to grow until you break that. And the next thing that I want to get to is, as far as being a man, I think what a lot of us are missing is the ability to see ourselves through another, possibly older man's eyes, to see ourselves through somebody else's eyes. Because I see my faults and I see my shortcomings and everything else, and that's what I carry around with me. But when somebody I trust, when a man that I trust sees something good about me and points it out, then that changes everything. That changes the way that I think about myself. And we need to start doing that for each other. And I think that a lot of times what we do, what I've done, is we isolate. And when we do that, when we isolate and we're the only man that we have to talk to, that's the only opinion we get. And if it's negative, then that's going to keep us down there. It's going to keep us where we're at. So think about that. And also, another thing is I'm 50 years old, and the things that I thought that I was going to accomplish by the time I was 21, I didn't accomplish them. But you know what? I'm still going, and there's still stuff to do. And it doesn't necessarily look anything like I thought it would when I was 21. In fact, truth, when I was 21, I was an idiot. I thought I knew everything, but I didn't know anything. I didn't understand anything. Now that I'm 56 and I can look back at my mistakes and I can look back at the way things have gone and what's worked and what hasn't, now I got a little something going for me. So it's never over till it's over. And these last few years have been the greatest years of my life. So don't think, if you're 22, even you're 15, 16 years old, oh man, 30's old. I never want to be 30. That's only because you're not 29. But just, it's an ongoing process. And it gets funner and funner and funner the more you learn. And the point is not to be the best. It's not to win all the time. It's that's not even part of it. Part of it is what it's all about is just learning and getting better and getting closer to God, getting closer, getting that, learning how to use the Holy Spirit that lives within you, and finding out how to walk with God, finding out how to align my will with God's will. And I'll tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't sound very fun when I say it, but it's incredible. It's the coolest thing in the world when you get it and everything just kind of just starts going smoothly. And I've said this before on these segments, that the peace and the serenity that comes along with aligning my will with God's is absolutely incredible. It's immeasurable. And for those of us who have struggled and fought and just had a horrible time, especially when we were younger, to get that reward is the most amazing thing in the world. And the best part about it is you want more. And now I'm starting to understand how to get it, which keeps the peace coming and keeps the serenity coming. And all the problems that pop up are not really problems. So one more thing that I want to talk about before I let you guys go is comparisons. And that is another thing that will take us and just stop us from getting where God wants us to go in this life, from getting where we want to go in this life. And it's this thought process that's always, well, he's better than me, or he's better looking than me, or he's stronger than me, or he knows more than me, or whatever. Or, I lost this race, or I didn't do this as well, and blah, blah, blah. These are things that keep us down. They keep us down. And I'll tell you what, Satan loves that stuff. He loves that stuff. He'll just whisper in your ear, man, you messed that up, didn't you? And if I come into agreement with that, then it takes hold. It becomes a stronghold. And once it's a stronghold, only God can break it, because I can't. I'm not strong enough. I'm not strong enough. So stop comparing yourself to other people, please. Please stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop comparing yourself to the you were when you were 18. Stop it. Stop it. You're great just the way you are. Exactly the way you are. And the other thing about comparisons is why? Who are you impressing? Because if it's somebody else's comparison, if it's somebody else's expectation that you're trying to meet, sooner or later, you're going to fail. Sooner or later, you're going to miss. And it just, the fear of failing and the fear of losing. When I was growing up, you didn't lose. That just, you at sports, didn't lose. At academics, I had to be the best. I had to be the best. Second best was not enough. I cried when I got my first B. I cried like a little baby, like I was in ninth grade or something. That's silly. That's silly. And for you young guys, my mom told me, and it wasn't very long ago, but she told me, she said, you know, all the straight A's that you always got, she said, I think that hurt you. And that blew my mind, because to me, getting those straight A's, that was the ultimate, okay, give me the pat on the back, give me your approval. And she wanted to know what I was good at and what I wasn't good at. And when you're striving to be perfect at everything, you can't tell. You don't really know. And it was never about what do I enjoy. It was always about the letter on that piece of paper. That's what everything was about, was that letter. So it wasn't really about even learning. I became very good at taking tests, but I didn't really understand what I was doing. And that hurts when you get older. So find the things that you love. You know, and as I got older and I went back to college and things like that, I realized that I love English. I love English. I love the English language. I love twisting it and turning it. I love people's dialects and accents. I love everything about the language. Had I known that going into college when I was 18, that would have helped. That would have given me a direction. But as it was, I had no direction, because I didn't have football anymore. And all I had was these report cards with all these A's on them, but I had no idea who I was. So it's okay to struggle with things. And in school, you have to take these courses, and you do the best you can. I'm not saying don't get A's, but what I'm saying is start to think about, what do I really like? What homework do I love doing? And what homework do I hate doing? And I'm not saying that you have to do one or the other, and in school you really don't have the option. You have to do it all. But start to think about these things and start to think about, okay, so if I have a goal that I want to be a doctor, and I find out that I hate science, and I'm scared of blood, then maybe I need to rethink things a little bit. You know, these are things that just getting to know ourselves a little bit better, and getting to know ourselves through honest eyes, rather than trying to get to know ourselves through somebody else's eyes or somebody else's expectations. That's real important. And the things that I tell you guys, I've done it the wrong way, and God has pulled me out to the other side. So I'm not an expert on any of this, other than doing it wrong. That's what I'm good at. And these are things that the mistakes that you make and the lessons that you learn, you're not the first and you're not the only. And find somebody that you admire, find somebody that you respect, and talk to them. Talk to them and find out, get their story. Get their story. I think that you'll find out that, you know, you might be 20 years old and I'm 56, but we still have a lot in common. And there are things that you're going through now that I've been through, and vice versa. You know, I mean, this whole thing, we're made for union with each other. We're made to do this together. We're not made to shoulder all this responsibility by ourselves. That's not how we're supposed to do it. We're supposed to bring each other up. So, back to, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would like you to think of that. I would like you to just throw it out there. Just let your mind go. Think of the silliest thing in the world, and then decide on something. And then think about why. What is it about that I really want to do? What is it about that is so much me that's what I want to pursue? And not saying that you have to go pursue it. Nobody has this expectation of you, but think about those things. Think about what you're good at. Think about what you enjoy doing. And then maybe start to rethink all the plans that everybody else has for you. think about what you want to do. Think about what you want to be when you grow up. And for this segment, that's all I got. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Come back and see us.